President Trump is delivering unscheduled remarks at the White House Monday. The statement comes after Trump's meeting with Attorney General Jeff Sessions and FBI Director Chris Wray regarding Saturday's Charlottesville attacks. Live updates. Cholera has infected more than 500,000 people in Yemen since April, according to a new WHO report. At least 1975 people have died in what is currently the world's largest epidemic of the disease. Overall, the number of cases has declined since early July, but 5,000 people are infected each day and the disease is still spreading fast in more recently affected districts, which are recording large numbers of cases. 89% of the county's districts have been affected. Worsening hygiene and sanitation conditions and a lack of access to clean water are fueling the epidemic. Cholera is contracted by ingesting food or water contaminated with human feces and, left untreated, can cause fatal dehydration. One striking stat: more than 99% of people with cholera who can access health services are surviving. But nearly 15 million people are unable to get basic health care in the war-torn country. WHO. Google is acquiring Cenosis Health, a startup that makes apps to measure lung function, hemoglobin and newborn jaundice, according to GeekWire. Look ahead: technology giants are increasingly stepping into the healthcare industry, but most of the movement is on the consumer side. Cenosis could be folded into Google's sister company, Verily Life Sciences, and builds on the interest of turning smartphones into personal health diagnostic tools. Researchers have discovered a link between premature births and sleep disorders like insomnia and sleep apnea, according to Nature. The study is part of the $100 million investigation of prematurity in California and East Africa called the UCSF Preterm Birth Initiative. Researchers looked at the records of almost 3 million births that took place in California between 2007 and 2012 and found 2,300 records of women diagnosed with a sleep disorder like insomnia or sleep apnea. Among them, insomnia increased the risk of preterm birth by 30%, sleep apnea increased the risk by 40%. Prematurity is defined as being born 3 weeks or more before full term. Sleep disorders aren't a direct cause of preterm births. Jennifer Felder, leader of the study and postdoctoral researcher in clinical psychology at UCSF, said that lack of sleep could cause inflammation, which could lead to prematurity. Why It Matters. Nature reports that 15 million babies are born prematurely across the globe each year, and 1.1 million will die from complications. Attorney General Jeff Sessions told CBS This Morning's Norah O'Donnell Monday that President Trump absolutely needs to specifically condemn neo-Nazis and white supremacists for their role in Saturday's deadly attacks in Charlottesville, Virginia. His spokesman said it yesterday, and I'm sure he'll reiterate that in the days to come, Sessions added. Sessions also appeared on the Today Show Monday, where he discussed the backlash Trump faced for his response to the attacks. Sessions said he thought it was a good statement and that it directly contradicted the ideology of hatred and violence. He later added, I'm sure he'll talk about it again soon. He will be speaking to the people today. I'm not sure what he'll say. Other highlights from the interview on neo-Nazi site, The Daily Stormer, which responded to Trump: they are simply attempting to legitimate themselves in any way possible. They are going to find out that we're coming after them for any violations of the law, that the president has condemned them by name and will continue to do so, and I'm confident that the American people will reject this kind of evil ideology, and we need to take it seriously. On Trump openly criticizing members of his White House including Sessions: I believe in the president's agenda. I believe in his leadership. He has a right to scold his cabinet members if he's not happy with them, and he has a right to have people in his cabinet that he believes will serve his agenda. Has Trump apologized for repeatedly criticizing you? He has not apologized. He's quite frank about his concerns, and he expressed them openly. On Sunday, Vice President Mike Pence issued a broad condemnation of hate groups after the deadly attacks that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia on Saturday. His quote, "We have no tolerance for hate and violence from white supremacists, neo-Nazis or the KKK." Pence defended President Trump's response to the attacks, and pointed a finger at the news media for spending an awful lot of time focusing on what the president said, and criticisms of what the president said instead of criticizing those who brought that hatred and violence, per NBC News. Pence, in Colombia for the first leg of his Latin America tour, was also asked whether Trump should have singled out white supremacists in his response to the violence, as Pence had done in his own statement. The vice president said he thinks Trump spoke to a national moment, words the American people needed to hear, that we condemn acts of violence, acts of hatred. Joint byline by Defense Secretary Jim Mattis and Sec State Rex Tillerson on lead Wall Street Journal opt. We're holding Pyongyang to account. The U.S., its allies and the world are united in our pursuit of a denuclearized Korean peninsula. The Trump administration, with the support of the international community, is applying diplomatic and economic pressure on North Korea to achieve the complete, verifiable and irreversible denuclearization of the Korean peninsula and a dismantling of the regime's ballistic missile programs. We are replacing the failed policy of strategic patience, which expedited the North Korean threat, with a new policy of strategic accountability. Barely a week after voting yes on new UN sanctions targeting North Korea, China has announced it will stop importing key goods from the Hermit Kingdom. For the AP's Joe McDonald, the Chinese customs agency said it will stop processing imports of North Korean coal, iron and lead ores and fish at midnight on September 5. Other North Korean exports to China also include clothing, knitwear and plastic rain ponchos, which appear not to be affected by the latest sanctions. The latest UN sanctions are intended to block North Korean exports worth $1 billion, a significant share of total exports valued at $3 billion last year. Why it matters. China, the isolated North's main trading partner, has been reluctant to push leader Kim Jong-un's regime too hard for fear it might collapse. But Beijing is increasingly frustrated with Pyongyang and supported a UN Security Council ban on August 5 on coal and other key goods.